Hello, World History 1 students. This is Mr. Everton, and this is a video all about the Gupta Empire. The Gupta Empire were the second Indian empire to unify much of the Indian subcontinent, and it's often referred to as the Golden Age of ancient India. So we're going to talk about why. What is a Golden Age? What causes a Golden Age? And why is the Gupta Empire considered a Golden Age? Last video, we talked about the Mauryan Empire and Ashoka. The Mauryan Empire did not last. Shortly after Ashoka died, the Mauryan Empire fell apart, and India went back to being a collection of independent kingdoms. Different kings and princes throughout India controlling their own little pieces of India. It became decentralized. So what unified India after the Mauryans was culture. Hinduism, represented by the Vedas and Upanishads, particularly the Vedas, the caste system, the social hierarchy that was in place in India, helped to create order and stability, and Buddhism, which was left over from Ashoka. When Ashoka made Buddhism like the official religion of India, it really helped Buddhism to spread and helped to give it a foothold in India. About 500 years later, the Gupta dynasty reunified much of India, so 320 CE. And it mostly reunified Upper India. It wasn't able to reunify the southern part. Excuse me while I sip some tea. And this is what we refer to as the Golden Age of classical India or ancient India. It's a golden age, which means that it is a time period of great wealth and prosperity, but particularly cultural achievement. When somebody's talking about golden age, they're usually saying that there are a lot of cultural things that are happening. Impressive ideas are being had, being written down, and being shared with the rest of the world. And usually what leads to a golden age is money, which comes from trade. And the Gupta Empire was located in the middle of some pretty important trade routes. Now, we haven't talked a lot about these other societies. We haven't talked about the Persian Empire yet. We haven't talked about China yet. But what you need to know is that India is kind of like the middleman. They're in the middle of Asia, in the southern part of Central Asia. And so they act as sort of like a relay station. People from China take the trade routes west, and they stop in India and they trade. And people in the Middle East, they head eastward and they stop in India and they trade. And so people use India as sort of like this middleman, and it made the Gupta Empire incredibly wealthy. One of the things that the Guptas were able to trade was cotton textiles. Cotton textiles come originally from India, and they were incredibly valuable and desirable. Also, in the Gupta India had access to some spices that were not available in other parts of the world, and which were similarly very valuable and very expensive. Land and sea routes ran through India. People were trading on the Indian Ocean, using India as a relay station. People were also trading on the Silk Roads to the north of India. And whenever somebody is trading, whenever somebody is moving from one place to another, buying and selling things, they're not just spreading their cotton textiles or their spices. They're also spreading their ideas. So when people left India and went to China, or when people left the Persian Empire and came to India, they were exposed to the ideas of Hinduism and Buddhism. And so this helped to further spread Hinduism and Buddhism to new places. As people came in contact with Gupta India and the merchants of Gupta India, they came in contact with the religion, and that allowed it to spread. And then all of this wealth that was generated by trade in Gupta India led to cultural advances. And that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of the video. What are the cultural achievements, the great ideas, and the lasting impacts of Gupta India? First, there's medicine. Gupta doctors discovered that they could vaccinate people, that they could inoculate people against diseases, that by giving them a shot, they could prevent them from getting certain illnesses. They also discovered that they could set broken bones, that if somebody broke a bone, it was better to put the bone back into place before it was allowed to heal, and that then the person would be healthier, and the limb or whatever bone was broken would be more sound and more sturdy. There are also great achievements in the field of mathematics. Gupta mathematicians, including Aryabhatha, discovered the concept of zero, a number that represents nothing. They began using the 10-place, the decimal system that we use in the United States today. There were great achievements in trigonometry and algebra and geometry that would be highly influential to later mathematicians. Also, Gupta astronomers discovered that the Earth was round and that it rotates on its axis, that it spins in a circle. And then finally, there were literary achievements. There was literature, poetry, and drama. A great writer named Kalindasa wrote epic poems and dramas in Sanskrit, and a lot of the earlier Hindu epics, things like the Vedas and Upanishads, which had not been written down, which were orally, passed down from one person to another, were now finally written down in Sanskrit and what we call canonized. They were made the official version of this text. So a lot of that happened during the Gupta dynasty as well, and a lot of the literature from the Gupta dynasty has continued to influence Indian culture. So to summarize, the Gupta dynasty was a golden age of classical India. And it happened because India is located in a great spot for trade, which led to a lot of money, and that led to cultural achievements, including in the fields of medicine, mathematics, and literature. Thanks very much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.